Welcome students to this lesson on organic molecules. While you watch these videos, I want you to fill in your notes, either in your notebook or in the slideshow that I assigned to you. You'll notice that the notes are blanked out. I know some of you are more comfortable learning the biology in Spanish, so I will have Spanish translations throughout to help you out. And feel free, whether you're focusing on the English version or the Spanish version, pause and rewind and rewatch as you need to. So the first question is, what is an organic molecule? And I'm going to make it as simple as I can for you. An organic molecule is a molecule that contains carbon, and it's a molecule that actually makes up the bodies of living things. It actually makes up carbon-containing molecules that are organic molecules, actually make up living things. Specifically, the organic molecules make up the organelles, the parts of cells. They actually make up the structures of life. They're just molecules, though. Now, it's more than just carbon containing. We're talking large molecules that contain carbon bonded to other elements. So the other elements, you need to know them, the other elements that bond to carbon to make up life's molecules are other carbon molecules. Carbon can bind to carbon in these long, long chains, making very complicated molecules. Hydrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, sulfur, and nitrogen are also found in organic molecules. And actually, these first three, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, are found in all of life's organic molecules. So where are they on the periodic table? I'm sure you recognize this as the periodic table of elements from chemistry or other science classes. All of the known simplest elements are shown on this periodic table. All of life's elements are small, starting with carbon, has 6 protons. Hydrogen is the smallest, 1 proton. Nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur. Those are the elements that make up living things. Now, there are many organic molecules that make up life. They all contain carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, and some of the other materials. There are 4 major types of organic molecules. So all the molecules of life can be broken into 4 categories. Carbohydrates, which are things like sugars and starch, they provide cells with energy. Lipids are fats and oils and waxes and steroids. Lipids do not mix with water. They're hydrophobic, water-fearing molecules. Now, nucleic acids, DNA and RNA, are an important third class of organic molecules. Na in DNA and Na in RNA stands for nucleic acids. Nucleic acids are built from building blocks called nucleotides. And finally, proteins, which are made of amino acids, are large complex molecules that can control how fast reactions happen, that would be an enzyme, or can control how stable a cell is or how strong a bone is, for example. Proteins carry oxygen in our blood. There are thousands and thousands of different proteins with different functions, and they're all made of amino acids. So here are some diagrams or some images for you to consider. Carbohydrates, sugars, and starches. Here is a picture of a disaccharide because it has 1 and 2 sugars bonded together. It's a source of energy for cells. Now your lipids, again, they're hydrophobic. They fear water. This is a diagram of a lipid, and I want you to notice all the carbons and hydrogens and oxygens. Same thing in the sugar molecule. Carbons and oxygens and hydrogens. Again, the molecules of life. Now, nucleic acids like DNA and RNA, in this picture I'm showing you DNA. If you take a chromosome and you unravel it, a chromosome is a really long, folded up, twisted strand of DNA, or a molecule, of DNA. If you look down at the actual elements that make up the molecules, you'd see more carbons, hydrogens, and oxygens. You'd also see nitrogen and phosphorus. And enzymes. Enzymes can get very, proteins, enzymes being a type of protein. Proteins can get very big and complex, but again, they're made of building blocks called amino acids, and those amino acids are just made of carbon and hydrogen and oxygen and nitrogen and phosphorus and sulfur. So now I want to look at a typical MCAS question on organic molecules. And I really want to stress, with multiple choice questions, you should be looking for the important words and ignoring everything else. The MCAS question is always going to be about basic biology, stuff you learned in biology class or from me. So when I read this question, I'll read it aloud. Vitamin D is an organic molecule that regulates the absorption of calcium by the body. Which of the following elements is most common in a molecule of vitamin D? This question is wordy and confusing. You don't need to know that vitamin D regulates the absorption of calcium. What you need to know is it's an organic molecule. This question is just asking you what elements make up organic molecules. So the rest of this information does not matter. And if you look at this list and remember, CHNOPS is a good way to remember the elements that make up life. Carbon and hydrogen and nitrogen and oxygen and phosphorus and sulfur. The only answer on this list that makes sense is carbon. Now, using that same idea, I'm going to ask you to answer this question. It's a complicated question, but again, look for the simple part, the part that's asking you something that you know from what I just taught you. And then don't forget to submit your work when you're finished. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you very much for your attention.